Hello, thank you everyone for joining in. We here at SupportLogic are very excited to bring you yet another webinar. This time around, the topic is on MCP, which is much anticipated. This session is supposed to run for about 45 minutes. And as we go through the flow, in case any of you have any questions, please leave them in the chat box and we will take them once the session is over. My name is Usha and I'm from product management team at SupportLogic and your host today. And along with me is my colleague Sujit Sagar, who is a subject matter expert on MCP Server at SupportLogic. So, the agenda for today would be that we want to get an overview of the key challenges that enterprises face in the AI landscape. Then, we would cover a few scenarios of how SupportLogic MCP Server could solve them. We would give you a deep dive into the MCP architecture along with a live demo. And then the remaining 10 minutes we will keep for a Q&As. So, talking about the state of AI in business, as we all have experienced that the technology landscape has evolved rapidly in the past 2 years, with LLM providers shipping new capabilities every now and then. But when it comes to the real value creation at an enterprise scale, even the most powerful AI agents struggle when they operate in isolation. For example, an AI can generate a generic response to a customer by talking about an open case, but grounding that response into the actual status, the case details, the case history, the escalation metrics, the escalation risks, signals that is associated with it can be surprisingly hard. And this is very much visible in the study that is quoted over here. It is an MIT study which was done in late 2025, which states that despite spending 30 to 40 billion dollars on AI projects, the enterprises quote that more than 90% of enterprises see zero to non-zero measurable returns from their AI investments. Now, the ones who are able to see the returns are actually attributing it to two factors. One of them being rebuilding the workflows, and the other one is the right context. The right context is the most important thing over here. At SupportLogic, we truly believe that the AI performance improves dramatically when the right context is embedded within the well connected system. This is the study that reinforces it. In this particular slide, we wanted to cover few challenges that enterprises face in AI landscape. One of the key challenges over here is that when it comes to enterprises, the enterprise context seems to be deeply fragmented. What I mean by that is that it is extremely difficult to give an AI a clean and unified view of the operational data. That is, the AIs rarely have a unified view of data that contains CRM related data, ERPs, or ticketing system related data. And in order, and sometimes what happens is that when we do not have this unified, clean data in one place, what typically organizations tend to do is that they end up building custom connectors and custom API for every new AI agent. Now, this works very well when it comes to pilots or small scale projects, but maintaining these projects for over time with some measurable return is extremely difficult. Also, another pillar which is really very important for enterprises is the security and the trust concerns. Enterprises are very hesitant to expose their sensitive customer data to external AI. And because of these two challenges that enterprises face in the AI landscape, we notice that the net result, instead of directing all the efforts to create compounding value over time, we end up building new agents from scratch. And that is where the little to no measurable returns comes into play. Moving on. So here's a simple example of what I'm talking. So before we take this, I just wanted to ask all of you, how many of you are currently actually using MCP with agentic frameworks? Moving on. Talking about the right context, here's a very simple example that we wanted to explain. So, say for example, we have a particular case. Say the query is very generic in nature, where the support agent is asking question like, the case ID 12345, is it likely to escalate? Now, when it is exposed to a generic AI, general purpose AI, it cannot answer it with accuracy and will be able to provide generic response at best. Whereas an MCP connector will route the query through the support logic's agentic capabilities and will also have the right context to answer this particular question. So, what does that mean is that it will be able to extract the case details, it will be able to pull the signal related information, it will be able to understand what are the escalation patterns, what are the churn risk patterns, and then it will be able to synthesize the response which looks accurate, and at the same time it understands the customer's intent to ask this particular question. So it is backed by evidence, and at the same time it is quite richer compared to a general response AI. Now, moving on. Yes. So I would like to hand over the presentation to my colleague Sujit, who would be walking you through the MCP server architecture. Over to you, Sujit.
Okay, thank you for sharing the great insights and all the MCP use cases. I'd like to start with the MCP server architecture. Can I share my screen?
Yeah.
Yeah. This is the architecture we have in place currently inside SupportLogic. So I'd like to start with the left side panel. So left side of this architecture where there are various MCP MCP clients. First thing is the chat clients which we use on a day-to-day basis, like a Chat GPT or Cloud Desktop. Or the second type is the custom AI agents which you have inside your infrastructure, where something is built with Agentforce or any open source agentic frameworks like LangChain or QA, right? Also, we have few support logic agents in-house, which is example, summarization agent, escalation agent, audit agents. All these agents on various user interfaces would ask similar questions. So they have a question, they answer for it, or they'd like to take an action, right? So they all have a similar use cases. So instead of them directly talking to a database or to get the information or calling an API to take an action, they'll be interacting with something called model context protocol, which we call MCP. So when the request comes to the internal MCP server, the first thing which it faces is the MCP gateway. So it works as a control point for all the MCP server. So all the MCP requests will be coming to this from all the various clients. First, as and when it receives a request, first thing it will do is it will authenticate. It will check whether the user is authenticated enough to be able to use the various tools. And it will also check the authorization, whether the user has proper access to it, whether they should have proper access to the tools or proper access to the data, right? All the MCP gateway puts proper guardrails in place so that the data access and the actions being taken are secure or done properly, right? So once this step is done, the MCP gateway will send the request to the tools. So these tools are technically speaking their business capabilities. Like these are the various business capabilities which we are giving to LLM. Like these are the support logic intelligence which are currently in place, like signals, escalations, autopay, knowledge search. I'll go more deeper into these tools in my later slides. But right now, these are the various business capabilities and support logic intelligence which we are providing through the MCP gateway, right? Which will be exposed to the MCP clients. With all this in place, we need to ensure that all these MCP, whatever the requests which are going to the clients, whatever the responses which is being given by the MCP gateway, we need to make sure that we are properly metering it. We need to ensure that we are keeping a proper log of whatever is being responded is a response to the MCP servers. And we need to ensure that right people are accessing it. We need to ensure which is the person accessing it, right? So that's where the observability and security comes in. So these will ensure that the compliance also in place to ensure that everything is working properly. So with all of this in place, we are not making LLMs more powerful. They're already powerful enough. We're just making sure they're reliable, safe to use, and they're providing the correct business use cases. So this is the architecture we have in place right now. Coming to the authorization and authentication part, right now we support two kinds of authentications. One is API key based. So depending on the framework you use, depending on the MCP client you're using, you can use either of the authentication method. If it's API key, you'll have your own API key, and your tenant will have a tenant ID, as in tenant as in your customer ID. And it will be seamless integration for enterprise single sign-on. And each customer will be given their own client ID. So your SupportLogic team will provide you the respective client ID for your customer, and you can directly use that to authenticate with your MCP server. So when it comes to security, as we already talked about it, we have role-based access control. We need to be ensure that each tool has been given to the right person, and each data inside a system has been accessed by the right person with the right authorization. So coming to the tools, right now we majorly provide access to two kinds of tools. One is your SupportLogic data, which is already inside our systems, which is already being processed, imported daily, you're already accessing this data via various dashboards and various workflows. We are exposing the same data via MCP tools so that it can be used by your agentic frameworks or MCP clients. For example, escalation predictions, agent recommendations, account summary, autogeometric, knowledge, search, and summary, right? These are the various data which we already have in support systems being exposed as MCP tools. And in addition to this, there is additional live prediction tools which you can use as well. These are not comprehensive. We'll be adding few more in the coming days. The first things to start with signals. For example, if you have a customer support case which is not invested into support logic, but you still wants to predict signals out of it, right? So in that case, we can use the signals tool. You can just pass text or customer support comment to it. It'll give all the support logic intelligent signals out of it. And if you can provide all the necessary case information to escalations tool, it can predict it. If you can provide all the necessary information, it can evaluate your case. It can give the quality score, CES, agent performance on the top of it. Right. So I can just show a quick demo of how all these things will work. For example, if you want to use ChatGPT for any MCP server, I believe you're already aware you would need to have the pro plan. So you can just go to settings, add a application, CP webinar, and let me just add the client ID for this. Yeah. So the MCP, this is our MCP server URL. For the production, it will be mcp.supportlogic.io. And when you're using with a OAuth client ID, oh, sorry. I just need to copy the client ID properly. So each client ID, each customer will be given their own client ID, which is also will be accessible via SupportLogic admin page in a few days. Yeah, that should do it. It will usually redirect you to your respective SupportLogic dashboards where you have to authorize it. I've already done that previously itself, so mine is already redirected to the ChatGPT interface. Yeah, so now this tool is connected. Yeah, these are the various tools which you can use as of today. For example, to start with, I have a example customer support comment, right? So if I have to extract signals out of it, so I'm just not using the MCP server, which we have just imported. I'm just using a generic LLM knowledge, right? If I have to extract signals out of it, this is what ChatGPT is saying, right? It's extreme strongly negative. These are the various emotions detected and highly severe in everything, right? So now, if I give the context of SupportLogic MCP server to it, and if I'll ask to extract signals out of it, so it's calling the SupportLogic MCP server tool, which is extract signals, and it'll give the exact out of the SupportLogic interface, right? So these are the various signals we are giving, and also the respective probability scores of each sentiment as well, so that you can use these values and sentiments and text in your agent systems as well, right? So this will be a lot more helpful compared to what the generic LLM system has provided. The second use case I'd like to show is, for example, there is an executive, customer support executive, who comes into the day and they'd like to understand what are the list of escalated cases for the day. Right now, they're currently going to the SupportLogic dashboards and logging in over there, and they're seeing the list over there. Instead of doing that, you can directly open ChatGPT and you can just ask, show me the list of escalated cases. So it will call the necessary tool. Yeah, so it will directly list down all the recently escalated cases from your support system, which is already being accessed by SupportLogic, right? So same dashboard data is also available via chat interface or through your agents as well. So these are the various cases I'd like to go through. And for example, I'd like to understand more details about this specific case. These are the various additional details it will provide via case details. We are also adding few more details right now. These are the very basic information the client is returning. But as and when our clients are required, customers, if you require more additional details, we'll be more than happy to add them directly to the MCP tool itself. And in case I want to access about any specific customer, I can just ask saying get account details and just mention the customer name. It will call the respective tool and yeah, and it'll just give me the health score and current sentiment score of that account. So all of this data is already available in the Supporter dashboard. Is just that you don't have to go there and you can access everything via chat interface. Or right now, these are the various tools we are providing. An additional tool is we also have a Resolve Assist interface where if you ingest all of your knowledge search tool knowledge base into our systems, we'll be able to provide answer questions on the top of it. So this is one of the example where we have ingested our own support logic knowledge base into our system. And this is one of the question which we can ask it, right? So we have an interface for it, but here itself, I can get an answer to this question. Right. So for this, I think mostly this will be useful for the agents. So for them, if they want to ask any question in the knowledge space, they can directly come here and ask the question and they'll get the respective answer. So it's just searching for it. So this is directly coming from our knowledge base. And yeah, it will also give the link to respective fresh test article. And so this will just enable the agents to give better responses in the customer support case while resolving. So yeah, these are the various tools we provide. But on the top of it, uh, going back to our additional roadmap, going back to a list of tools, we are adding more tools in the coming days, right? So from the Corex side, any additional case information you need, or any additional workflows you want to do directly from the chat interface, like assigning a case agent or any other workflows. If you want to automatically agent scoring all the dispute resolution workflow, we're planning to directly add it in the chat interface or AI agentic interface itself. Yeah, so that'll be it. And do you have any questions?
If anyone wants any of the demos to be repeated, since we have some time left, we could touch base on certain scenarios which you would like to be repeated. Or otherwise, if you have any questions, please let us know. Happy to answer them. All right.
Okay. So yeah, we just would like to add right now, we're currently working with few partners. I see some of them already in the webinar itself. We are working with them to build our MCP server and help them in any way we can building their agentic interface. So we're also looking for new partners. If you want to work with us, build agents on the top of our SupportLogic MCP server, please reach out to us and we'll be more than happy to help you out.
Yeah,
And
thank you
build
everyone
the MCP
again
server.
for joining. Really appreciate that. And also, in case you have any other questions, please just do let us know. We'll be very happy to answer them. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you so much.